What's going on, guys? Dan with PC Tech Hustle coming at you with another video. And today I want to do a little bit of a different kind of video for you guys. I want to show you guys why I do the parts hustle thing. So today what we're going to do is I'm going to put together two builds for you, one through PC Part Picker, and set a budget of $500. And we're going to put together the cheapest yet most powerful PC we can with that budget. Additionally, then we're going to go scour my local markets and use applications such as OfferUp, LetGo, Facebook Marketplace, etc. and see if what more you can get as far as price to performance if you go with used parts that are good. And by the way, guys, if you enjoy PC builds like this or any other PC tech related content, make sure you hit the subscribe button down below and don't forget to tick the bell notification icon. That way you never miss any of my latest content. Other than that, let's get cracking into this and get us some price to performance builds. Alrighty, so we're gonna pan over here to PC Part Picker and start building out this $500 build. Alrighty, so here we are on PC Part Picker, and we're gonna start a brand new build and target that $500 mark. So a system builder, we'll click there, and for this, I really can't recommend anything else other than Ryzen if we're doing a budget build. It just makes sense. Intel, nothing wrong with that. Yeah, they're falling a little bit behind in the core count, type of market, but Ryzen and AMD is just bar none the best value. So we're gonna go with that. So in that regard, let's choose a CPU. So let's type out 2600, and let's go with that. So we got a AMD Ryzen 5 2600 non-X. Don't really need that, and we're looking at $119, $120. Because we went with that, we don't have to go with a cooler, so we save ourselves some money there. So now let's go check out a motherboard. I'm not really tailoring these builds to any type of really form factor, to being ATX, micro ATX. Really, I'm just going for what I can find is cheapest. Typically, the micro ATX boards are your cheapest boards, so we're just gonna target price here. Let's go with a B450 motherboard, being that it's still a mainstream produced motherboard. Let's see what kind of price we can get here. So I'm just gonna actually type B450 here. So that should bring up all my B450 options. And then let's go to price. Our cheapest board we have here is the ASRock B450 HDV. Okay, so it's got two slots of RAM, two RAM slots. Yeah, that is a bit limiting, and power delivery is a little bit low. So let's see if we can bump that up just a hair. That board isn't bad, but let's see what we can get. All right, so the next one down, we have a Gigabyte B450 DS3H. Let's see what we have here. Okay, so this is a little bit more of a board, obviously, because we have two more DIMM slots. We got a little bit better power delivery because we have an 8-pin. And you can definitely see through the MOSFETs and the VRM, we have quite a beefier power system and power delivery. Don't really see much else on this board in regards to features. Looks like maybe we might have like a little baby RGB strip here. This should do fine. So I'm going to select this one, actually. And let's see so that board was actually, yeah, about 10 bucks more. So not bad. All right, so with memory, let's see what our total is at so far. We are at $192. 193 basically, so we got roughly $300 more to complete this build. Memory, I'm not going to go overboard because this is a very cheap area to upgrade down the line. So I'm mostly targeting something that will be good enough, but obviously may have some things to be desired. So we're not really going to go for RGB, not going to go for the latest and greatest speeds either. So I'm going to kind of try to target something more on the budget side. So we typed in DDR4 here. Let's go with sort by price. And I'm actually going to kind of target for like an 8 gig kit, just because 8 gigs is still good enough for modern gaming these days. Especially if you're playing at like a 1080p level, you're not really going to need a ton of extra memory. So 16 gigs is kind of, though, where I would suggest if you can spend some money, isn't absolutely needed. So let's see what we got here. We got this Mushkin kit, 2400 megahertz. Okay, yeah, that's decent. This is really weird. It looks like a lot of the prices actually are not listed, but $61 here for this Mushkin kit is kind of high. You can definitely find this type of kit maybe on like Amazon for like 40 bucks. So we'll go ahead and add it and maybe kind of say, well, we got maybe like a $20 buffer of variance there. So let's just go ahead and add it. Yes, this is 2400 megahertz, and even with a 2400 megahertz kit, you can typically get by with maybe bumping up to 2666 without really messing up anything, and or having to even tweak with the timings or anything like that. So all right, so for storage, again, we're just trying to get something going. So we're not looking for high storage capacity. We're looking for fast, if possible. So we have an M.2 slot on that board. Let's go ahead and try to make use of that. All right, NVMe is what we want because NVMe uses the PCIe lanes to transfer the data back and forth. If you use a SATA M.2, it's going to use the chipset and it's going to be a little bit slower. If we can use NVMe, and being that it's so cheap nowadays, let's go ahead and do it. So here we go. We're sorting by smallest price, and we have some options here in the 120 to 256 gig. Let's go with the 250 just because it's really not that much more expensive by only a few dollars, and we get a good amount here. This one's got at least one rating. Mushkin, again, as far as the brand, let's just take a quick look at the, I guess not really much to look at here. Obviously, you can, the sky's the limit with NVMe. You can get very expensive, and the more expensive you get, the faster the transfer speeds you usually get. But for someone starting on a budget, this should be plenty fast. So let's go ahead and add that to our cart, I guess, so to speak. All right, so we got CPU, motherboard, memory, and storage, and we are at $300, just under actually. So next we have to get to the video card, which is going to be where we're gonna drop some money here. So let's look that up. Now, a lot of the mainstream video cards that I usually put into my budget builds that I do with local parts are usually like an RX 570, 580. Those are going to be dwindling in availability, so their price is going to go up. But what I'm going to kind of target is actually just a price value instead of just trying to target a specific type of video card and just kind of see what we get. So I'm going to put our price ceiling. I don't want to spend, since we are already at almost $300, I really don't want to spend any more than like $150. So let's see what we can get by with that. Ideally, you want to get like an 8 gig, but 4 gigs is plenty. A lot of my budget builds actually are 4 gig models, so that's not anything that I've really seen much performance variance on. So actually here, we got right here, I'm very familiar with this card, and you guys have probably seen this in many of my builds. The MSI Armor RX 580 8 gig for $154. I don't think we're going to do much better than that. If we need to come back and adjust, we will, but let's go with that. With the video card now, we are sitting at $450. We are getting very close. And remember, we kind of have like a $20 variance here that we can kind of play with because that memory, I think, was way too expensive considering what it's actually worth, and you can probably find something better. Maybe we'll try to chase that down. But all right, so with case, because you are going brand new budget, brand new parts, and your budget is $500, we're not going to have a lot of money to spend. Let's actually kind of tally things up here. So we're sitting at about $430, and we need to get a case and a power supply, and we need that to come in under $70. That's going to be tough. So the case, I don't think we're going to be able to spend any more than $35 to $40 on. So let's see what we can do here. Let's target our price range for cases all the way down. I'm going to put 50 as the ceiling, and then sort by lowest price again. We're probably gonna have to go with something like a DIY PC case. There's nothing terribly wrong with those types of cases. They're just a bit on the cheap side, obviously, but that's also another thing that save up an extra $100 down the line. You can come in and just transplant your parts into a much better, more suited case. So to get off the ground, we're not gonna spend a ton of money on a case just because it's really almost completely an aesthetic thing. Other than being a place to hold your parts. Yeah, you know, you can argue that, well, you know, it's also a performance thing because of fans and things like that, but you can actually run your PC without a case altogether. So again, that's kind of why I'm not going to spend a lot. So actually, let's go with that case we just clicked on here earlier. So this is the DIY PC MA08BK. Oh, okay. So this case, I think a lot of the big tech YouTubers have covered. It's kind of a pain. I don't know, you'd have to check on specifications, but it can be kind of a pain with this drive cage wall here, which is actually like riveted to the case, which for larger video cards, which the RX 580 one that we chose isn't huge by any stretch, could actually impede, and you could have some problems here. I'm gonna add it for now, but just as for pure sake of being able to give you an option. As you saw, there was a few other cases in the same ballpark range. So again, or maybe if you decide, hey, I want to spend $100 or $550, then you can definitely open yourself up to much better cases to go after. So let's add that guy. And now we are sitting at 484 or possibly 464. So with that said, let's go to our power supply. Now, I kind of know what this type of PC is going to need for power requirements. A 400 watt 80 plus would be ideal and would be enough. This type of system without any kind of overclocks and just straight plug things in and go is going to pull less than 300 watts from the wall. So you're still in pretty good shape. So let's target a 400 watt, but we want to keep it around, let's put $45 as our ceiling. And yes, we're starting to become pretty limited on options, but actually perfect. Look at this. So I highly recommend this power supply. This is the EVGA BR 80 plus bronze certified, 450 watts. So we're actually coming in at a higher wattage ceiling, and I can't recommend EVGA power supplies more than anything else that I've used. So you're never going to have a problem with those. If you do, I'd be surprised, but always would recommend EVGA power supplies. So let's add that. I'm not even going to look further. And here we go. We're sitting at $520, but remember what we said was that RAM is actually $60. So if we go search Amazon, I'm sure we can find a cheaper kit. I've bought better kits for less. So even if you take that into consideration and say the RAM is not any cheaper than that, this is right at $520. Like I said, we're going to call it about $500, but this is what you can get for a starter PC. So with a $500 ceiling of spend range, now let's see what we can do in regards to piecing together a build using local markets and really stretching that dollar to give us the best price performance. So we'll go ahead and swing around into that next. Alrighty guys, so now we have our build done via PC Part Picker with all brand new parts and totaling around $500. Now let's see what we can do, how we can beat it by looking up local used parts, or at worst case scenario, we match the same performance of the build that we just did through PC Part Picker, but do it at a much cheaper price. So let's take a look here and see what we got. Alright, so one of the apps I like to use, probably where I get most of my parts locally, is OfferUp. Seems to be more centric towards tech and electronics type stuff, which is fine for me because it seems to be quite a widely used application for buy sell in my local area. So I live in the DFW area, Dallas-Fort Worth. I'm right here just on the main page, and let's just kind of go from square one. I can just type in maybe Ryzen and see what we also have available here. Right off the bat, we got a few things, so some interesting things too. So looks like this guy here is selling a Ryzen 7 2700X for $120. So I think a Ryzen 7 2700X, let's just double check the new price of one of those. If we change our CPU on our part picker list to 2700X, those are going for about $200 right now. And actually on one of my videos here, I link up in the top right corner, I bought one for $180 brand new. So the price does fluctuate a little bit. With all considering, even if it's $180 brand new, this guy's selling for $120. And what I would probably do is I would try to make an offer of about $100 So 120 is a pretty good knockdown, but $100 is not terrible, and it's not so much of a lowball offer that you guys might be able to meet in the middle, say maybe at $110, or the guy might just simply accept 100. All right, so let's go over and track this via just an Excel doc instead of using an OfferUp board like I mentioned. $100, so the asking price we'll just say is 120, and we'll offer 100. So that way you kind of have some variance and idea of potentially what you could get for it. Now sometimes people are really sticklers and they won't actually bend on their asking price. It just kind of depends. So let's go back. Now let's just say, all right, we got a CPU. I mean, honestly, a 8-core 16-thread for under basically the price that we had already set for our 2600 in our new build part list, we're already winning. So actually what I'm going to probably do is just type Ryzen motherboard because I'm getting all kinds of stuff here. So let's see here, Ryzen motherboard. That'll kind of help us a bit more. So, and let's make sure we're selecting pickup. All right, what do we got here? All right, so we're not really finding anything as far as motherboards. We might have a little bit of a shortage, though. That's where I would go to, let's say, a secondary buy-sell site. So let's hop over. Let's go check here. So let's, actually, it looks like I already had motherboard plugged in here. So, okay, actually, this one looks like we already have a result showing up here. Look at this. Although I already had motherboard pre-plugged in, didn't actually even type out Ryzen. We have a Gigabyte, what is this? AB350 Gaming 3, and this is actually an ATX board. All right, so we have some more features available to us, and it actually looks like it is including the I/O shield, which is one thing that definitely if you're buying a used motherboard, you want to try to make sure that you get from the seller. Make sure that they also have the mounting backplate. That can be a bit of a problem sometimes. If you don't have that, then you can't mount a cooler, or you'll have to go out and buy something like, say, off like eBay or something. But let's just go with this. I mean, $36.40 is kind of a really weird price. So let's say that this motherboard, we'll pay $40 for it. So let's go over to our Excel sheet, plug in. So their asking price, we'll just say it's 40 since it's so close anyway. All right, so we're offering now $140 for a Ryzen 2700X that had a cooler plus motherboard that is an ATX motherboard, so very supportable for $140. And if we, reference our build guide here that's on PC Part Picker, we are just coming in $20 over just the processor cost initially. And we have a motherboard and processor. So we're already winning big time here. Okay, so next we need to find some memory, some RAM. Let's just type in, go back to OfferUp, because like I mentioned, OfferUp seems to be a really good place to go find PC parts. I usually, if I'm searching for memory, I just type the type of SKU of memory, so DDR3, DDR4. So I'm going to type DDR4, just hit enter. Okay, here we go. What's this? Patriot Viper DDR4, 3000 megahertz. Oh, this is jackpot, and it's even cheaper. So this is 3000 megahertz, which will work really good with Ryzen. Actually, is a whopping 600 megahertz faster than the RAM we picked out on our PC Part Picker list. So I'm going with this. So we got, and this is a total of how much? 8 gigs. So this is absolutely perfect, man. I almost want to just go buy this, but. Anyway, so let's pump that in here under RAM. That guy's asking $25. That is a steal, honestly. Like, he could probably sell this memory for $40 and maybe have an asking price of $50. So either he's kind of being a nice guy or he doesn't know what he's got. But man, I'd actually be surprised if this is actually still even available. So anyway, we're gonna go with this one here. Put this into our Excel sheet. And his asking price is $25. I would be nice and just not even try to haggle him on price. what could I possibly save? Like another $5, but yeah, I'm just gonna give him the 25. That's fair, very, very, very fair. So sweet, we're off to a pretty good start here. So let's go after a graphics card next, since that's what we need next, or one of the items that we need next. Like with anything that you guys have seen out of my videos, my go-to video card is an RX 570, 580. I really don't branch out much from that, other than maybe like a GTX 970, mainly because I can almost always get those video cards around the $70 to $80 mark. So let's see what we got out here. So let's plug in, I'm gonna start high, RX 580. Boom. What did I just say? Oh, this is hilarious. Yeah. Ooh, this is an Asus Strix card too. So this is actually a pretty decent quality card. Looks like, hard to tell if that screw's been removed. Looks like there might be a puncture hole on it. That doesn't bug me all that much because I'm buying a used part. Looks to be in pretty good condition. He's got the box still. Heck, this guy took care of his card. I like seeing that when you see people that save the anesthetic bags, that me being one. I definitely do that. Yeah, let's go with this. Okay, so $80 for this. RX 580. And let's see, is it the 8 gig version? 8 gigabyte RX 580 Asus Strix model for $80. That's just killing it. Because if we go look at our 8 gig card from MSI, $154, nearly double the price. So let's go back here, pump that in. You know, for $80, I wouldn't even haggle the guy for that. He is actually making a great offer out there to sell that for $80. So sometimes I don't haggle. And honestly, I think about if I'm gonna haggle, it's gonna be, you know, what am I truly gonna save? I can maybe pinch off $5 to $10 from this guy. Honestly, I would feel bad giving him anything less than 80. Like, this is a steal. So I would definitely just stick with it, just like the guy with the ring. All right, so let's just do a quick total recap. So 100 for the CPU, $40 for the motherboard, and we're doing offer prices. And the only thing that we've actually changed so far on the offer prices that we would offer to people for the parts is the CPU. If you look down here in my bottom right, we're at $245. It's phenomenal. So let's move on and let's go see if we can find some storage here. Let's type in NVMe. Let's see what that pops up. This might be one thing that's tough to find, where you might want to make a decision. Do I want to go with the 2.5 inch or do I want to go with NVMe? I haven't seen a lot of NVMe on used markets because it's kind of a newer thing as far as consumer hardware. Anyway, so this is where I would make a audible here. We could continue to try to go down the route of looking for NVMEs since we know we can support it through the motherboard, or do we stop here and just go with SATA? Or do we go and check out our system builder guide here on PC Part Picker and we just go with what we have here? And sometimes this happens when I'm building budget PCs is I'll run across an area where I'm trying to find a part and I can't necessarily find it cheap, but there are some known good cheap things out there. So this is where I would go with the Mushkin NVMe drive here that we have listed for our PC Part Picker list. So let's just use that. You know, $40. We're not breaking any budget here at this point. So we'll just say $40 storage, and we're just doing PC Part Picker. So the very first part now that we've had to go external for instead of looking around. So now we need PSU and case. I'm gonna go with PSU first just because I know those are more widely sold in local markets. I have a lot of experience with that and I just recently bought one. Cases tend to be very sparingly available, so let's go with the PSU first. And a lot of times what I'll just type power supply at first. All right, what do we got? As I mentioned, we only probably need about 400 watts of power. Now we did go up in processor. So let's say in a 2700X. So that's gonna be a lot more power hungry. So I would say we need to be looking for about a 500 watt power supply. So let's see what's out here. Okay, I stumbled on something that could be relatively promising. I would go into this first, obviously, send the guy a message and ask, hey, are you selling both these power supplies for $60? And that might just be a straight buy, and I might offer like 50 bucks. Thinking this ad is true and that he is actually selling both for $60, which is a steal. So let's go with that in terms of you're just gonna buy one for $30. So let's pump that into our sheet here. We are saying his asking price is 60, but really is actually more likely to be 30. With all things aside, let's go with the $30 since we are trying to piece together something locally. I think these are some of the better options that you'll come across as far as people just have extra equipment they're just trying to get rid of and they're in good shape. So, all right, last thing, we need a case. I have had some success buying used cases, but most times I don't. So let's give it a shot. Let's go over to OfferUp again and let's type in PC case. That's what I'll start with anyway. Okay, what we have here, this guy's selling a case for $70. What kind of case is this? Doesn't even say. Gaming PC case. We have tempered glass side panel, dust filters, PSU shroud. Comes with 2 red LED fans. Ooh. And all screws. Okay, so this almost looks like a Fractal or NZXT case. Okay. Tempered glass. This could be a decent option, honestly. I don't like the stickers on it, but you can remove those. 2 red LED fans, so if you're into red LEDs, you definitely have an option. This isn't bad, actually. This is actually pretty good. It's full ATX case. It's of better quality that you'll find at the $40 to $30 to sometimes even $50 price range. I would say, yeah. I'm sorry, it's $70. I'm thinking of already what I'm going to offer the guy. So $70 too much, I would say, for this. I would start at like 40. I know that's a low ball, and then you can even be like, hey, I don't really want the fans. Or include the fans for another $10. And you're walking away with, I don't even know what kind of fans these are. Can't tell. Look like some kind of knockoff brand. Probably not that great. Anyway, so let's just go with this. I mean, actually, we got lucky and found a case. Now, again, you can go with a much more expensive case if you want. Now that we've saved ourselves a ton of money compared to, you know, our budget of $500 with the other, because what are we at right now before the case? Add all this up, we were at $315. So if we're keeping a $500 budget in mind, we can go spend nearly $200 on a case. Obviously, silly, but if we pump in the $70, the $50 cost that we would offer for this guy's case, because if you're spending any more on a case, honestly, I would refer to you to just go buy brand new, because you're gonna get something, you know, that's in good condition. You can get pretty decent cases in the 50 and up range, and they're to the point also where they're not super cheap either. But I would say, just to play devil's advocate here with this video, we'll say that we can pick up this case for 50 bucks. So our grand total here now that we have is $365. Pretty awesome. And this is why I hustle my local markets. Alrighty guys, so this was a lot of fun. I hope you got something out of this. This is where a lot of my PC parts actually come from. I spend a good amount of time looking at my local markets and trying to make those deals. Clearly you can see that if you're willing to stretch the dollar and take a little bit of a risk, you can definitely get a lot more price and performance, for sure. But I also want to make note that if you want to play it safe and you just want something to start with that gets you a safe build with some warranties and a place to go return your parts, definitely use my PC part picker list there and model off of that. Definitely won't hurt to do that either way. Though, speaking of that, I'll put that in the description below for you so that way you can use that and model off after that. So regardless of whatever build you guys choose to do, being used or new, I'd love to hear from you guys. What do you go check out your markets and try to get the best price to performance Is it something that you go after like I do all the time? Or do you like to play it safe and build brand new parts and know that you get those warranties intact and everything else? And before we go, make sure you guys do the YouTube thing right. Give me a like if you enjoy this content. Give me a comment. I want to hear if you go buy your parts brand new or used. And if you're new here, make sure you get subscribed because you don't want to miss any more of my content. And here's a couple more videos for you. But other than that, thanks for tuning into this one, and I'll catch you in the next one.